Bismillah. Malikin nas, ilahin nas, min sharrin waswasil khanas, allazi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal farajahum. Thank you, brother Ikan, for your wonderful recitation of Surah An-Nas. And next, I would like to invite another young member of our community, Brother Ali Mustafa, to recite Surahs for us. Ali, you ready?
Assalamu alaikum, can you hear me?
Wa alaikum assalam, yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. اے چاند کربلا کے تو نے تو دیکھے ہوں گے اترے تھے اس زمین پر عرش بری کے تارے اے چاند جلوگر ہے ہاشم کا چاند یہاں پر خیرات روشنی کی لے لیجیو یہاں سے اے چاند اس زمین پر کیوں ہمیشہ ٹھنڈک سوتے جو ہیں یہاں پر زہرا کے ہیں یہ پیارے اے چاند تسنیم و سلسبیلوں کو سر کے ہیں یہ مالک مارے گئے جو پیاسے اس نہر کے کنارے اے چاند حر اور حبیب جیسے جانباز اور ہپا مارے گئے یہیں پر انصار شاہدی کے اے چاند مارے گئے یہیں پر بے دردی و ستم سے مسلم کے دونوں پیارے زینب کے دونوں بیٹے اے چاند بازو کٹے یہیں پر عباس با وفا کے اذن وغا نہ پایا پانی بلا نہ پائے اے چاند اس بن میں ایک بچی بابا کو ڈھونڈتی تھی بکھرے ہوئے پڑے تھے جب سر بریدہ لاشیں اے چاند پھر یہ بھی تم نے دیکھا وہ غم رسیدہ بچی سینے پہ سو رہی تھی بے سر پہ در سے لپٹی اے چاند کربلا کے تو نے تو دیکھے ہوں گے اترے تھے اس زمین پر عرش بری کے تارے اے چاند
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal farajahum. May Allah bless you for this recitation of the surahs of Shaheed Sitta Jafar as well. And before we continue, I'd like everyone to take a second, recite Durood Sharif, recite Salawat, and also recite Surah Fatiha and Surah Ikhlas for the Muslimin who are no longer with us today. So, yes, according to tradition, these Salah, Salam, Majdi, and Nahi, especially in the Arabic tradition, is a way to keep history alive. And when we recite these, we basically recall all the different events that happened during Karbala, the Masa'ib of Imam Hussein, the acts of his bravery, and the absolute tragedies that he endured. And to continue this tradition, I would like to invite Jafi to present a nasiha for us. Fahad, are you ready to begin?
صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بولے پدر سے اکبر برچی نہ کھینچنا ہے جان اب لبوں پر ہے جان اب لبوں پر برچی نہ کھینچنا بولے پدر سے اکبر برچی نہ کھینچنا بابا نظر کو پھیر لو دم ٹوٹنے لگا برچی کے پھل سے خون ہے دل کا رکا ہوا ابلے گا خون زمین پر ابلے گا خون زمین پر برچی نہ کھینچنا بولے پدر سے اکبر برچی نہ کھینچنا میں نے تمہیں بلایا تھا تاکہ میں کہہ سکوں بالکل نہ غم کرو دل کو ہے اب سکون بیٹھے رہو یہاں مگر بیٹھے رہو یہاں مگر برچی نہ کھینچنا بولے پدر سے اکبر برچی نہ کھینچنا اماں کو یہ خبر نہ ہو میرے سینہ لگی گش آ گیا ہے بس ذرا شدت کی پیاس کی میں آ رہا ہوں چاہوں کر میں آ رہا ہوں چاہوں کر برچی نہ کھینچنا بولے پدر سے اکبر برچی نہ کھینچنا سانسیں اکھڑ رہی تو مدہم ہے نفس بھی کرتے ہو ہم کو ہے تاکید صبر کی کہتے ہو تھام کے جگر کہتے ہو تھام کے جگر برچی نہ کھینچنا بولے پدر سے اکبر برچی نہ کھینچنا बोले पदर से अकबर बरचीना के चना सलवात सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आले.
Can you recite salawat one time to bless the reciters and their Azadara and Imam Hussein? Your efforts and your continued appearance in this Majalis, of course, does not go unnoticed. Not here, but especially in the Bargah of the Ahlul Bayt. So, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. Another reminder for the parents and for you guys listening is that if you would like to recite before or after the Majlis, please contact Brother Daniel Asad. His number is in the chat. And the second thing is, yes, of course, like you can be older, you can be younger, it doesn't matter. Yesterday, we had a very young member of the community, Brother Muhammad Hur, who recited a Noah, and he did so wonderfully. And following that trend again, then I have another young member of our community, Brother Samar Kazmi, to present a summary of yesterday's lecture. If Samar, you're ready to begin, bro.
Assalamualaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Today, I am going to revise Agha's yesterday lecture. In previous lectures, Agha discussed and developed common understanding by the companions of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam and technological and spiritual advancements. In yesterday's lecture, he focused on the beauty of art. The beauty of natural world has two parts: natural beauty and the beauty of human development, like art. These beauty of human development. This is a room for religious touch in natural beauty. This can be seen related to religion. But when it comes to human development, human invasion in the form of art, architect, landscape, painting, or art of film industry, music, it is considered irrelevant to religion, and most of it is haram. This is our Islamic approach. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us creativity to mankind. It's a divine concept. Developing art, finding beauty of the world is a task given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the Quran, the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "We gave this world beauty." Allah creates these things and He wants us to develop and arrange it in a most beautiful way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has designed this beautiful system for us to develop and rearrange. Art is a creative expression of human being by God using the beauty already present in this world. It is our job to religiously to develop art with divine instructions in a correct way. A divinely guided, pious person should do it. Problem is not art, music, filmmaking, etc., but using them to promote sins. Destroying society is very bad. We need to change our perception to it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to develop and create the right form of art, inshallah. Thank you. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. I thank you again, Samai, for your summary. And as he pointed out, truly misguidance is on every corner in the world that we're living in. And having these majalis, the University of Imam Hussein, as it said, is so important to bring us back, to center us, to focus us on our one true objective, and to continue his pattern of lectures and his hidayah for us. I would like to invite Hujjatul Islam wal Muslimin, Sheikh Hamza Sodagar. Assalamu alaikum, Agha.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين المنتجبين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. For the hastening and the return of our Imam, let's recite the salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. For his health and well-being, let's recite the second one louder. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Inshallah, each and every one of us becomes a true and close companion of that Imam. Let's recite the third one even louder. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjil farajahum. One of the areas that the companions of the 12th Imam, which I hope you all are, inshallah you are, I hope that he makes me one of them as well, in the 21st century, recognizing our responsibilities in the day and age that we are in. One of the areas we need to focus on, besides the modern developments that we said, those modern developments, we gave different examples. One day we discussed the sciences and technologies. The other day we talked about the arts and the other aspects that are seen by some as irrelevant or mostly haram, which we said that is incorrect. That is not the right view. That is a misunderstanding. And instead of most of them being haram, most of it is fine and good and can be much, much, much better. Besides these areas that we discussed, there are other areas that a believer needs to work on and develop themselves. A companion of the 12th Imam needs to work on and develop themselves in order to be a companion of the 12th Imam. One of those areas has to do with the health of a believer. The health of a believer is not something, again, I want to repeat this line, we don't see that, we do not see that, not that it isn't, we do not see that as relevant to Islam. We don't see it as relevant to being a companion of the 12th Imam. Or if we do, the way we see it is either incomplete or a little off. The direction is a little off. I want to talk about this, at least as far as I can see, the way a believer should look at taking care of their body. Health, this is what I mean, taking care of our bodies. Before getting into what a follower of the Imam and a companion of the 12th Imam needs to do, I want to again look at what is happening in the world that we live in the Western world, which is spearheading progress, or that at least that's how it's perceived, that's how it's seen, that's how the world sees it, that's how we see it, and to a certain degree it is the case. It's just that they're not doing it properly, or there's deviations within it. But clearly it is not seen as anything relevant to religion. Again, it's not seen as such by people, and we're trying to correct some of those things where they need to be corrected. Physical health in terms of medicine has been around, and we are all reaping the benefits of that progress. That has to do with science and technologies and so on. So the medical field has been developed to the degree where many of the illnesses that would limit our population on Earth and would cause babies to die, or babies not to even be born, or for children to die in the earlier years of their life. They have been dealt with, cures have been found, vaccines have been made, and so on and so forth, the result of which is that the population of the world boomed suddenly. There's a population bomb in the 20th century, they call it, where the population of the world suddenly just increased so much. And as one of the academics in a documentary talking about this mentioned, it's not like, in his words, we started reproducing like rabbits. It's just we stopped dying like mosquitoes. We were dying at a rapid speed, so our increase in the population, because of all those deaths that were related to these diseases, that rate of dying off early that reduces population drastically, that changed. We weren't dying as fast, and so the population increased. Then there was another issue now, and that is our population is growing on a slower scale. Back in those days, in the older days, the population reproduction rate was very high. The problem was the death rate was also very high, and that's why the population didn't increase. We fixed the death problem through medicine and medical advancements, but the reproduction rate has reduced drastically because of the current culture that discourages people from having children or having as many children as before. Families used to have children as, for example, my mother's side, these are Western non-Muslim, they're Christian people, and my mother and her siblings are a total of 13 children, and that's from one set of parents. One mother and one father, 13 children. Nowadays, those 13 children of one set of parents in turn have 2, 3, or 4 maybe children each. So it went down from 13 to 2 or 3. I think the average we can say is 3 children. The rate of the increase of population has actually declined very drastically. We have a problem with population decline these days. That's a cultural problem. It has to do with the ideology and the beliefs of people that has led to this decline in population. But otherwise, the medical field has helped preserve life, and people are not dying at those rates. That was a medical advancement in the 20th century that we're all aware of. We're all now used to. It's very common. We all know what vaccines are. Children after birth get a lot of vaccines. The checkups the mothers get before the child is born to make sure everything is okay, and so on and so forth. The technologies developed to monitor the health conditions of mothers, of other people that need medical attention. All of these things have been things that have developed in the 20th century, moving into the 21st century. That has developed even further. The technologies are more advanced, the possibilities are greater. Now a mutilated leg can be replaced with one made by human beings that can function very well now. People can even compete in races using some of these devices that are made for the handicap. And that is increasing further and further. That is not the area I'm referring to today. That was part of the, I think, second talk related to the scientific and technological advancements. What we are seeing today has to do with something more than that. Something more than that. keeping the body healthy on or in a much more nuanced way, and combining the health in terms of the functionality of the body, or rather just being alive, let's call it that, combining that, an enhancement of that, as well as something that deals with the appearance and the quality of the functionality of the body. Let me use some other terms that are a little more familiar to you. Fitness. Fitness is one of those areas that has become increasingly more popular, a lot more developments. Plastic surgery and various other surgeries, which are medical procedures, but they have to do with the appearance of the body, the look of the body. Fitness has partially something to do with just simply the health of the body, the basic health, which is that you don't die or that your arteries are functioning right. You don't want to not exercise and not be involved with physical activity to the degree where there's a buildup of substances in your arteries that lead to heart attacks or other problems that develop with lack of physical activity, or what is generally referred to as fitness. There's a bare minimum, there's an aspect of that to just keep us alive and somewhat functional. Then there is an aspect of that that goes beyond that, goes toward taking measures in terms of diet and activity designed to produce better results in the way a person feels at work, the way the person feels when they study, the way the person feels about themselves when they look at themselves in the mirror, when they are socializing with others in the various ways that we do on a private level with a spouse, for example, or just generally in public and with people. This is something that has developed more and more since we moved away from and we took care of the bare minimum requirements of just being alive. And then with all the advancements in the technologies that made food so readily available, and the work started becoming less labor intensive, people had a lot of time on their hands and a lot of good food and a lot of good recipes, and they started overindulging in food, not caring about anything but the taste and flavor, which, as we mentioned yesterday, that's not a bad thing. The flavor and the taste is something that we do need to take care of, but that's not the only thing to focus on. When you combine these different elements, it leads to the problem of obesity that has become a bigger and bigger problem in the West and the rest of the world as well, because everything is following the footsteps of the West. The world is being affected and influenced by Western culture and Western technologies, and wherever that spreads on a larger scale, you will find that people are dealing with the same problem. So obesity has become a problem on a global scale. Then the next thing was that people started to see there's a problem with that, and that's when this stage of development with fitness and diets and so on and so forth, including the medical procedures that exist to reduce the negative impact of either foods, lifestyle, or just take care of the body and enhance its looks. This is different than the arts that we were talking about. This has to do with the body, with the human body. Okay, each person. This aspect of life, this development in the West, I want to explain that this is, while it is not seen by Westerners as an Islamic thing, obviously, they're not Muslims, they don't care about what Islam says. But Muslims living in the West, we think of it as something irrelevant. Again, we think of it as such. And if anybody gets involved in that, to a certain degree, we are willing to accept that, sometimes even praise them for that. If we see someone's going to the gym, working out, looking a little more fit, controlling their diet, taking sometimes substances to legal ones and healthy ones, because there's the illegal, unhealthy, that makes your body look all, the muscles and all that to start popping. There's unhealthy stuff. I'm not speaking of those. I'm talking about the more natural ways, and just having some supplements that will help some people that are having issues with that process. Anyway, when we see somebody getting involved in that, we can give them some good comments sometimes, but that's as far as it goes, and we don't really see that in light of religion. We don't see it as part of religion. We don't see it as relevant to religion. And what I want to clarify is that that is also an area that Islam does care about. God does care about. Some of the descriptions of the hereafter related to the human being have everything to do with the physical appearance of a human being. Now, the hereafter, the system of the hereafter is somewhat different in, for example, the area of the body you are given is based on the worship that you have done to Allah. A better believer, a stronger believer, a more obedient believer, even if they didn't actually care for their appearance in this world, is going to look a lot better in the hereafter compared to all these Kardashians and other models that people look up to and see as some of the best looking people. And these people who look so great in this world are not going to be looking as good in the hereafter. In fact, they're not going to look good at all until the purification process is complete. But the people who did better in this world are going to be given better bodies. That's how there's a difference there. In this world, that's not how it works. But the idea of the way this body looks and feels, each person feels within themselves, the idea that how you can use, how well you can use this body, for how long, right? This is something that is important. Let me state something from Ayatollah Khamenei too, as a marja, as a mujtahid, as a leader of the ummah. He has said, and this is documented by a video, there's a video, I've seen that video. He says, exercise is necessary for the young and for the youth, and wajib for the elderly. He used a religious term when it came to the elderly. The area where people don't even think about it, because when they're young, there's already people in their youth already have an inclination toward it. A lot of people get involved with it. So he just used the word necessary and didn't put that, I mean, just being a religious figure, he's saying it's necessary already gives it that religious touch. But when it comes to the part where people are less thinking of it, there are less people thinking of this, there are less people involved in it, and more problems arising from that, Ayatollah Khamenei uses a very clearly religious word The word wajib, it's religiously an obligation for them to be involved in fitness and physical exercises and so on and so forth. If you don't take care of that, then your functionality in your older years is going to be reduced drastically. Okay. Him putting that forth is telling us that Islam cares about this. Islam does not encourage in your youth just spending time enjoying life, foods, caring about your job and going to work and making a living and having fun, and then when you get to your 50s and start moving into your 60s and 70s, that you're just going to be sitting around, you can't do anything, you can't take care of yourself, you have to tell everybody else to do things for you. Islam does not encourage that. Islam cares about that and tells you to prepare for that. Keep your body healthy. Keep your physical activity and fitness going from a younger age all the way through your older years. You need to be fully functional all the way to the end. And that requires an activity. It requires work. You have to work for it. You have to do things. May Allah protect him, bless him. He's 84 years of age, mashallah. You look at him walking, standing, attending sessions that people younger than him have issues standing for that long. He just stands and attends those for 3 hours on feet and looks at whatever. His memory is, mashallah, better than a lot of younger folks, while the Western political leaders like Joe Biden, you can see how he's failing, and he's only in his 70s. Ayatollah Khamenei's memory is fully functional, his body is fully functional, except for the injury that was created by the enemies of Islam. He's practicing what he's been. Islam cares about this, and I want to say beyond this. I want to say the activities in the area of fitness that even deal with giving your body a better look, taking care of that, caring for it, taking measures for that is a good thing. Flexibility of the body is a good thing. Islam does care about this. It's not there with the priorities of wajib and haram. It isn't. But we're talking about the companions of the 12th Imam. The companions of the 12th Imam are not limited to the bare minimum religious activities. We want to present a holistic approach of the companion of the 12th Imam. The companion of the 12th Imam needs to have all these together. The spirituality needs to grow, the worship needs to grow, but these aspects also need to be there. They need to be seen as relevant to the development of the companion of the 12th Imam. The look of the companion of the 12th Imam needs to be good as well. Let me state this as well from Ayatollah Khamenei. Now this is moving a little bit away from the physical health, but it has to do with the look of a person. I had a teacher that used to be able to visit or see Ayatollah Khamenei on a more regular basis. And I was told by one of his, I think it was his son perhaps, I don't think I heard this directly from him, or maybe I did, I'm not too sure about that. But anyhow, that any time that they had a session, they had to go and meet the leader. While they were very happy to do so, they were very concerned about their look, because especially as a mu'ammam, someone with the clergy attire, the amama and so on, he was very particular. If he would go in his presence and your amama doesn't look right, he would give you comments about that you need to work on that. If you wore clothing that was not good, you didn't care about your clothing, then he would gift you with some clothing. Now some people may go there just for that, to receive a gift, but may think that way, but that wasn't the idea. The idea was that he was promoting This notion that you need to take care of your look, that's an Islamic thing as well. Especially with the clergy that sometimes thought, unfortunately, against what Islam teaches, misunderstanding some of the narrations that we have about Amir al-Mu'mineen, misunderstanding that and thinking that, oh, if you want to be more pious and if you want to be more, you want to have more zuhud, then what you need to do is have more ragged clothes and not take care of your look and so on. That's all misunderstanding. No, Islam tells you to care about your look. Take care of your look, whether it's clothing or otherwise, and our focus is not even that. Our focus is the body itself. I'll throw out some names of some activities. I don't want to encourage any one of them specifically, but the results that we get from these. Yoga, for example, is a physical activity that involves stretches and involves strengthening the muscles, and if you get involved in that, it gives you a certain functionality with your body that if you continue with that, even in your older ages, your body is going to look good, feel good, and be more functional. People who are involved with that, or with some of the other, some of the sports that are out there, if they take care of it properly, and that's our idea, that's the idea that we're presenting, not ruining your body for some, I don't know, some competition. You know, the idea is health. We talked about being healthy, but on this level, controlling your food, your intake of food. While there's a lot of options available, the amount you take in and the quality of that food, what types of food, understanding that, and taking care of the measurements of food and the items on your list that you're going to be having to both control the functionality, the feeling, but also the look of that body. That is something that Islam does care. Again, it's not comparable to the wajib and haram. If you have somebody who's taking care of the wajib and haram and is not doing this, we're not going to say they're a bad person, but a person who's taking care of their wajib and haram, but is also doing this together, combined, say they're at a higher level. And they can be involved in more activities, whereas the person who doesn't do this, there will come a time where they won't be committing a sin, but they just can't do certain things. They won't be able to be part of certain activities and do certain worships because they physically can't. The physical appearance of the body of a believer is something that Islam does care about. Be careful with the words. We're not putting it alongside wajib and haram, but we are saying that Islam does care about this. It is something that is important to Islam. It's not something irrelevant to the religion. Enhancing and taking care of this body in ways that make the appearance. Now, I've been repeating the idea of appearance as one of the areas that the effect of this work needs to show itself in. The size of the body and the appearance looking more appealing. One of the areas that is important in one of the areas, because generally, again, one of the descriptions of the hereafter is that the people that you're going to be seeing, one of the specific examples, men and women, both are mentioned in the Quran. The beautiful men and the beautiful women that are going to be around you, other than those who are the believers that end up in paradise. The scene is described to us, some of the women that are around and their appearance and the way they look and how appealing they look, and the men that are there to serve the believers, their appearance being so good. Having people with good appearance creates a more enjoyable environment. That's something we take from the Quran, from the descriptions of the hereafter. Allah cares about that. And I was moving toward this idea. One of the other things, besides just the community, the environment we're in, the different people we see, the looks, the appearances, looking nicer and making our experience with them from that aspect more desirable and enjoyable. In one particular area that is spoken less of, unfortunately, and we have a lot of misunderstandings regarding, in that area this becomes even more important, and that is marriage. Okay. In the context of marriage, your physical health is going to impact the relationship greatly. The physical appearance and health of a person is going to impact the relationship greatly. Not necessarily the bare minimum of just keeping it together and not allowing it to fall apart. That's not what a marriage is. Marriage is not a relationship that you're trying to just keep there and not allow it to fall apart and lead to separation and divorce. That's not what marriage is about. Marriage is supposed to be a relationship that is consistently enhancing and getting better, and the spouses wanting to be together, enjoying each other's company in the various ways. And we have so much emphasis on the physical appearance. Now, some of the areas that we've heard things and read things about involve, for example, makeup or clothing. But the foundation on which that makeup and clothing for both men and women, men part being highlighted here, that people don't see apparently as important when they get involved with marriage in the communities. Women are still expected to dress well and, I don't know, use makeup and fragrance and so on. When it comes to men, there seems to be less of that in the context of marriage. Boys and guys like to take care of their looks before they get into marriage. Once they get involved with marriage and the struggles of life, that seems to decline. That area of what is the adornments of this body, the additional beauties that are put onto the body have been mentioned, somewhat discussed, not enough, but you see some of that. But all of that is on the foundation of a body. If a body doesn't look good, if the body has not been taken care of, then the clothing and the makeup or the hairstyle and so on and so forth, taking care of that body just on a more superficial level is not going to be the same. A body that has been taken care of in terms of the shape, the size of that body, and the functionality, the strength of that body, the muscles in that body that need to be there for it to be able to do things. There's a huge difference between those two. So what we're trying to suggest today is that for the companions of the 12th Imam in the 21st century, they need to see these enhancements, they need to see these developments in fitness and health as something positive. Learn what parts are good for you and develop that in yourself. Learn how to feed your body where you enjoy the taste, you have the good foods, but you also take care of that body, and the eating does not lead to a physical appearance and a body that is less functional, less capable, and lives shorter and cannot perform in the older ages. These are important religiously, and we hope that the believers look at these matters without putting this as top priority, but keeping an eye out for this. And because it's part of our daily life and daily routine, without it affecting our worship and lessening and becoming an obstacle in the way of our worship and enhancement in our beliefs, in our understanding of the Quran, and so on and so forth, we tweak our eating habits, our physical activities, our exercise habits, so that that makes progress on a regular basis while we are working on our religious understanding and while we are proceeding with the spiritual developments in the form of the worships, the prayers, the salat that we need to be involved in. There are further examples that, for the sake of the session that we have and the conditions surrounding it, I didn't talk about more in depth, that have to do with the relation, the marital relation. I did not mention that. Inshallah, at some other time and some other platform we can talk about the importance of that. We hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the tawfiq to be able to develop ourselves holistically, including this aspect, inshallah. Sallallahu alayk ya mawla Aba Abdullah Sallallahu alayka ya mazlum Ayyuha ash-shaheed bi Karbala عطشانا May Allah's peace and blessings be upon you. My beloved Imam al-Hussein. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon you. My beloved oppressed Imam, the Imam who was slaughtered by the Euphrates while his mouth was dry of thirst. Ruhi fidaka ya Mawla. Seems to be tradition to remember Muslim ibn Aqil on this day. A Muslim went to Kufa, sent by the Imam, to see the readiness of the Kufans. The Kufans showed support, they pledged allegiance. 18,000 people from amongst them. Muslims sent a letter to Imam al-Hussein, come, the people in Kufa are ready. Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad was sent from Basra to come to Kufa. When he came, things started to change. Hani ibn Urwa, the host who was hosting Muslim ibn Aqil in his house, was taken, imprisoned, tortured, and eventually killed. Heads of tribes were silenced through bribery and threats. People started to, some out of fear and others for a few gold coins, leaving Muslim. There came a night in Kufa when Muslim began his prayer, his Maghrib prayer. There were many people behind him, but the whispers, by the end of the Isha prayer, there were only a handful, a few. By the time he started walking in the streets, there was no one behind him, no one offering their home. He'd lost his host. Gharib in the streets of Kufa, ended up at the house of Taw'a, sitting wondering what to do. I sent the letter to Imam al-Hussein to come. What do I do now? Again, these people have shown they're not loyal, they won't keep their word. What do I do? Taw'a comes and sees Muslim, tells him, oh man, she didn't recognize him. Why don't you go home? It's late. Muslim said, I have no place to go. Eventually, Taw'a recognized who this is. She was a believer. She took him in. Muslim begins to engage in prayer, wondering again what to do, what measure to take, difficult conditions. Taw'a's son, unfortunately, was not a pious man. He'd heard about the rewards of turning Muslim in. When he came home, realized as much as his mother tried to hide Muslim, he realized there's someone in the house and realized who it was. He went to the Darul Amara and told Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. They came to the house, surrounded Muslim. Muslim is the cousin of the Imam, someone who has training for battle. He begins to fight, but how many people can you fight by yourself? Especially if they are surrounding you from all sides, some above the buildings, the houses, and throwing arrows and spears. Eventually, Muslim are wounded and bloody. He loses his sword. They ambush him. They want to take him alive to Darul Imara. Muslim is taken. He arrives there. They take him above the roof. He's sentenced to death while he's being taken to where the executioner wants to decapitate him. Maybe Muslim look toward the Qibla, knowing Hussein is coming from Mecca, trying to see and speaking to the Imam. Oh Hussein, I wish I could write you another letter. Don't come to Kufa. Shimr is preparing his dagger. Don't come to Kufa. Harmala is sharpening his arrows. Don't come to Kufa. They are preparing to pull the earrings off your little daughter's ears. Don't come to Kufa. Ya Hussein, ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. يا حسين.
Ya Hussein, Ya
Ya
Hussein.
Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. حسین تیرے نام کی خوشبو، حسین تیرے نام کی خوشبو فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے، فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے۔ یہ خون ناک چھپے گا کیوں کر، یہ خون ناک چھپے گا کیوں کر، جسے یہ دنیا چھپا رہی ہے، جسے یہ دنیا چھپا رہی ہے۔ حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو، حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے، فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے۔ حسین لاشا جوا کرے کر، حسین لاشا جوا کرے کر چلے ہم مقدر سے سوئے خیمہ، چلے ہم مقدر سے سوئے خیمہ، مگر ضعیفی قدم قدم پر، مگر ضعیفی قدم قدم پر اٹھا رہی ہے، بٹھا رہی ہے، اٹھا رہی ہے، بٹھا رہی ہے۔ حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو، حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے، فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے۔ یہ کون ہے جس کی گفتگو میں، یہ کون ہے جس کی گفتگو میں علی کا لہجہ جھلک رہا ہے، علی کا لہجہ جھلک رہا ہے۔ یہ کون ہے جس کے ولولوں میں، یہ کون ہے جس کے ولولوں میں حسینیت جگمگا رہی ہے، حسینیت جگمگا رہی ہے۔ حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو، حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے، فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے۔ برات نصر علی کی بیٹی، برات نصر علی کی بیٹی مگر وہی عظمت محمد، مگر وہی عظمت محمد، وہ جس کی خاطر بھرا ہوا گھر، وہ جس کی خاطر بھرا ہوا گھر لٹا کے کربل سے آ رہی ہے، لٹا کے کربل سے آ رہی ہے۔ حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو، حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے، فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے۔ یا حسین، یا حسین، یا حسین۔
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. I would like to thank all of the brothers, Brother Khan Rizvi, Brother Ali Mustafa, Brother Fad Jafri, Samar, Zahir, Barrera, and Allah, of course, for their contribution to this Majlis. Inshallah, we hope to see you again tomorrow again at 3:30 p.m. And just another reminder, if you wish to recite, if you want your child to recite, contact Brother Daniel Asad, and we will see, and inshallah we make it happen. Doesn't matter what age you are. And until then, we'll see you again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.